Women Cross-Border Traders Cooperatives.
All right, as the microphone continues to go around, I'd like to remind you that we are on a number of platforms. So we're physically at the Sheraton Kampala Hotel. Some people are joining us via Zoom. That same Zoom signal is being relayed on YouTube and on Smart, I think 24, is it called? Yes, and Smart 24. So you are on TV and on the internet. I keep warning people when there are cameras that technology has not reached a level where it can make you look awake when you're asleep. Or, so please appear the way you want to be seen by the people out there. Also, you may go and watch yourself a year from today. Make sure you'll be happy with the way you appeared today. Let's continue with the introductions.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Unfortunately, we cannot hear you.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm Mariam Babu, the chairperson of Busia Cross-Border Traders Cooperative.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kapero Herbert. I work with Siatini Uganda.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rubanga Kene Patrick. I work with the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group.
Good morning, everyone. I'm David Kizito, and I work with Transparency International Uganda.
Morning, everyone. I'm Aloysius Chitengo, and I work for Siatini Uganda.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Jaramogi Patrick. I'm a journalist. Patrick Jaramogi, journalist.
Morning. My name is Talemo Agari. I work with the Water Governance Institute.
Good morning. I'm Herza Alan, and I work with Youth for Tax Justice Network.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Madrin Nabukera. I work with Smart 24 TV.
Hello, my name is Hakim Wampamba. I work with Smart 24 TV. Yes. I work currently with NBS Television. Thanks.
Morning, everyone. Gisha Michael, Uganda Debt Network.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ali Twaha. I work with New Vision.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Navga Regina from Siatini, Uganda.
Good morning. I'm Grace Namugambe from Siatini, Uganda.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Kwizera Laban Macdon, Media.
Hello, my name is Katende Eric. Yes, I'm a social media influencer.
Good morning, I'm Gano Eric, Media.
Good morning, I'm a Team Charlotte, influencer.
Good morning. I'm Arthur Musings, a social media influencer.
Ismail Ladu, journalist.
I'm Nebat Rogadia, journalist.
All right, thank you very much. Unfortunately, the people who are joining online cannot introduce themselves, but again, we'll try and make sure that you're involved in all the discussions we're having here. Would like to thank Siatini, Uganda, Oxfam, Money Trail, Diaconia, and all other partners that have made this dialogue possible. I'd like now to invite a representative from Siatini to come and give us some remarks as we start this discussion.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'm Navka Regina from Siatini, Uganda. And I would like to thank you for taking off time to be with us. I know it started late, like Gabriel said. We had to wait for everyone to get on board. Today, we're here to talk about domestic revenue mobilization. How do we mobilize the revenue? Is it fair? Is it equitable? Is everyone paying their fair share of taxes? Who is not paying? And what strategies can we use to see that everyone gets on board? There are a number of strategies that we can think about, but one of them is to see to it that we convene as a team and think through some of these strategies. A few months from now, that is maybe April, government of Uganda will be tabling or discussing the tax bills. Where is the revenue coming from? And that will not be only in Uganda, but the EAC region. Kenya will do the same, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and I think South Sudan. But key to note is our budgets do not decrease. The figures keep increasing year in, year out. And we have to remember that the tax revenue sometimes would not meet our targets. That means we have a budget deficit over time, and government needs to think through how to meet the budget deficit. It's not surprising that our debt burden is increasing over time. Some of you were with us yesterday and we are discussing issues around debt. The two issues are not disconnected. Ideally is a link. If you don't raise enough revenue, that means you're going to borrow, either internally, externally. Of course, I will not talk about the implications, which we are aware most of all. We do note that in Uganda, we have to come up with strategies like I earlier shared, but we cannot do it without talking to our neighbors. These days, we talk about regional integration. If Uganda does not put in place effective tax policies, someone else will go to Rwanda, will go to Kenya. That means we need to harmonize our tax policies. We've been talking about this over and over again, but you and I know that we have to build on all these strategies. Siatin has to contribute, you have to contribute something, and it's a journey over time. We have come here to see to it that we talk about issues of illicit financial flows, tax harmonization, tax incentives. In the EAC region, what has been done, what are the opportunities, what is missing, and how can we link all these issues with what's happening at international level? We will be focusing on issues around smuggling. I know it takes on different shapes, ideally, but what should we, is smuggling an issue? It's up to us to make it an issue, or it's not an issue. What should we look about? What should we think about? What should we leave out? And with us, we have participants from the border who will be sharing more. We have someone from the ESC Secretariat to share with us some of the strategies that are taking place. We have someone from Tax Policy Department, URA, Ministry of East African Community Affairs. And I believe everyone who has been invited here and those who are joining us online will be able to share their voice so that we can shape the agenda on tax issues. Without forgetting is the fact that the project on smuggling was is a foundation on is built on a foundation that was maybe a story that was shared by one of the journalists, and who is here with us. He's called Jaramogi. Mr. Jaramogi, please stand up for recognition. He was able to share with us that smuggling is taking place across borders. So we wanted to find out what are some of the strategies, what can we do to take this forward? And of course, with the support of Siatini, Oxfam, Trail, and Iconia, we've been able to organize this meeting. And I think without any further ado, I open the meeting. Thank you.
Regina, thank you very much. And again, big thank you to Siatini and other partners that have made it possible for us to have this very important discussion. Our theme today is stemming illicit financial flows through regional tax harmonization in the East African community. As Uganda tries to increase domestic revenue, illicit financial flows represent a major drain to capital and revenue. It therefore is not rocket science that as a country and as a region, we have to come up with strategies to plug those holes so that we are not losing revenue that and money that should be invested within the country. We're going to start off today with a presentation on tax harmonization and its impact on domestic revenue mobilization in the East African community. The person delivering this presentation is joining us virtually, so we will have to turn our attention to the screen that's behind me. It is now my pleasure to introduce Ms. Flavia Businje. She's Principal Customs Officer, Legal Compliance and Enforcement at the East African Community Secretariat. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome her.
Thank you so much. Like you said, my name is Flavia.
Is Flavia waiting for the hand clap? All right, then let's welcome Flavia with a hand clap, and she will start.
Thank you. I will share my screen first. Is my screen visible? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. But
Okay.
I think hold on. I think we're working on the volume. That's it.
Flavia, we apologize. We realize you've already started speaking, but somehow we cannot hear you here. just allow us to solve the technical issue so that those that are physically at the Sheraton and whoever is joining us from wherever else virtually is able to hear you. So just pardon us for a few seconds as we solve that problem.
All right.
Are we now good to go?
Flavia, please, testing.
Can I speak? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
Excellent. You can go right ahead now.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity to make this presentation on tax harmonization and its impact on domestic revenue mobilization. I will take you through the process of harmonization and what harmonization is all about and what has been done at regional level. And we will conclude by identifying some of the areas that we need to focus on to improve on domestic revenue harmonization. So basically, I'll start with the definition of what is tax harmonization. And if you look at the different scholars, it's not really having a single definition, because some of them do think it is bringing into harmony, but we can't say harmony is the same as uniformity. And others define it as a process of adjusting national fiscal systems to conform with a set of common economic aims. Other as associated to the concept of adopting common tax rates, but that is not actually harmonization, but we also see it as a possible degree of harmonization, and it is related to economic background, depending on the level of integration as it is pursued. So we can also look at it in two tax harmonization mechanisms, that is uniformity and compatibility, which basically depends on what the partner states or the different region would want to term it. So if you go into specific terms relating to tax harmonization, we see standardization, which is the highest degree of harmonization. For example, what we have done under the common external tariff, and I hope we are familiar with the common external tariff that is implemented at regional level, which was adopted in 2002. And we also look at issues of compatibility, that is adjusting of tax structures to counteract or compensate for distortionary effects caused by tax burden disparities. We can have, it also involves in the issues of coordination, that is the in-between category, which may apply within other scale mechanisms. In this case, we look at the codes of conduct to manage tax harmonization within the respective partner states. There is mutual assistance and reciprocity. What am I supposed to do as a taxpayer? What are you supposed to do as a tax administration? So there must be that kind of cooperation between the two parties. The convergence component, this would mean there must be spontaneous convergence in all this. So in a nutshell, we can look at tax harmonization as generally understood as a process adjusting the tax system for different jurisdictions in the pursuit of a common policy objective. So it can look at areas of convergence in terms of tax rates, tax base, product value, or compliance practices. And as the previous speaker mentioned, the issue of smuggling is quite something that distorts revenue collection or revenue mobilization. But if you have common compliance practices, it may help to curb smuggling. So if you go into the concept of tax harmonization at regional level, it runs through all the integration processes. You know that we have the 4 stages of integration, which is the customs union, the common markets, the custom monetary union and political federation. It is a key component of fiscal policy, which is necessary for macroeconomic convergence. And it is actually premised on the key principles of non-discrimination of goods, entities, and nationals. There must be mutual beneficial, it must be mutual beneficial to all partner states, and there shouldn't be any interference with free trade, free competition, and investment flows. You know very well that in most cases, when we want to attract investment within our region, we tend to compromise with certain sectors, giving lower tax rates, or if you can call them tax havens, to attract their investment. So basically, tax harmonization, the purpose is to attain the major objectives of the community, which are sustainable growth and development through promotion of balanced and harmonious development, equitable economic development that raises standards of living. We know it very well that within the community, we are looking forward to development of our economies so that our people can have a standard, a good living status once we engage in trade and put together practices that benefit the entire community. So it focuses on doctrines of equity, cohesion, and convergency. Sorry, here we also look at the economic objective of tax harmonization, which is trade liberalization and promotion. That is specific for customs union. Investment promotion, it is both customs union and domestic sector. Industry diversification, you very well know that if we promote the diversification in our industries, we would attract more revenue within our region. So it also looks at enhanced competitiveness at regional and global level. We have to focus on export promotion. You know, it's of recent, our leaders prioritize the area of industrialization. So we need to be competitive in different areas that we need to work on to promote our export, to promote our industrial sector, to be able to mobilize revenue in those sectors. Efficient production, that is given. So the economies of scale and scope must be taken care of. And this also relates to resource allocation and utilization. This is specific to monetary union, where partner states are supposed to harmonize the policies in terms of resource allocation and utilization. So we also need to have a balanced economic growth and development. That is the main economic objective of tax harmonization in the aspect of regional integration. If we look at where tax harmonization is anchored in our laws, it basically starts with the treaty, where Article 75 provides for establishment of a customs union, provides for common markets, and then it also provides for harmonization and rationalization of investment incentives relating to taxation of industries. This is, in this treaty, partner states commit to do all this. So it's the commitment of partner states, and it is provided for under the treaty. We also have under the same treaty, it has quite a number of provisions that relate to harmonization. Basically, it looks at harmonization of policies and to remove tax distortions and bring about efficient allocation of resources. It's impacting harmonization of policies that impact on capital markets, particularly on granting of incentives in that specific area, and then movement of capital by removal of controls within our region. If you go to specifics of the customs union, we see that Article 2 brings about the common external implementation of common external tariff, where in respect of all goods imported to our region from foreign countries. And Article 33, partner states agree to harmonize their exemption regimes in respect of goods. Why do they have to harmonize the exemption regime? To avoid any kind of distortion whereby a partner state or an importer or an investor has to prefer to go to country A that has better exemption policies than any other partner states. So this allows for uniformity and proper utilization of resources. Under Article 32, under the Common Markets Protocol, also we see that there is a commitment to progressively harmonize tax policies and laws. And of course, it is to remove distortions in order to facilitate free movement of goods, services, capital, investment, to promote investment within our region. You know that within the EAC, we have laws that allow the free movement of goods, services, and capital. But have our partner states been able to comply with all this? This is what we will be able to look at. Some has been really has worked out, others not yet. So the same protocol provides for adoption of common principles that relate to tariff rates, conclusion of tariff and trade agreements, achieving uniformity of measures of liberalization and export promotion strategies. All those are provided for under the Customs Union Protocol and the Common Markets Protocol as well. So the Monetary Union focuses basically on the macroeconomic policy framework, which comprises of fiscal policies to achieve economic growth and balanced development, and also harmonization of fiscal policies to disclose policy for this. If you talk about disclosing fiscal policy, it would mean all partner states are aware of which policy is in which country. So they committed to disclose to each other their fiscal policies. You see that these days we do read the budget readings are the same in the same period, may not be the same date, but usually we agree on a date that will be all budgets within the EAC will be read. So that is some bit of harmonization that has taken place. They also committed to public procurement policies, adopted and adhered to principles of fiscal discipline, and ensured efficient mobilization, allocation of resources. So these are the provisions that provide for tax harmonization within our laws, but how are they implemented? We do have institutional framework, if I may say. There are a number of sector councils, but we have specific sector councils that are specific to the respective sector that relate to financial and monetary matters. And these deal basically with capital markets development. They deal with withholding taxes on dividends, corporation taxes and listed companies, taxes on interest on long-term bonds, and also taxes on investments. And we have the committees that look at harmonization of tax-related aspects in monetary field. We have those that look at fiscal matters, particularly on double taxation agreements, and the customs committees that deal with customs and trade matters. So if you realize that at a policy level and at a regional level, partner states have agreed to sit together and look at the different fiscal and look at the fiscal policies and harmonize and agree to harmonize. So the pre-budget consultations, which is comprised of the ministers of finance, sit every twice a year to harmonize customs tariffs within the region to avoid distortion, of course, in implementation when it comes to the implementation of the common external tariff. So in regard to what we have done so far, I hope we are aware that currently we are implementing the East African Customs Management Act in regard to import and export of goods within and outside our community. We implement the external tariff that gives uniform rates on imports and exports. We have eliminated internal customs tariff. That is when the customs union came into effect, partner states had to give up on their internal tariffs and implemented the common external tariff. The removal of charges of equivalent effects. Those are other charges that may affect taxation in general. And we have the component of national treatment under the Common Market Protocol, which is under Article 15, as well as harmonization of incentives on export promotion. This is provided under the the Customs Union Protocol under Article 2. We have got a number of programs that are at an advanced stage. The EAC Double Taxation Treaty has been ratified, but has not been ratified by all partner states. So we are waiting for United Republic of Tanzania and the Republic of South Sudan to ratify. So under this, implementation still awaits the ratification of other partner states. We have had the implementation of the EAC Investment Code as a reference tool for partner states to develop national investment laws. The code was adopted, but partner states have not finalized the development of national laws to promote export promotion. Basically, they have to relate. It is a model law where partner states have to refer to in developing of their national laws. So we have the private sector policy strategy, development strategy, which is not yet adopted by the policy organs, but it is finalized. And also the initiative to harmonize indirect taxes and incentives. That is still in the pipeline, but it is being discussed. The domestic tax harmonization policy was adopted, I think, last year by the 38th Council of Ministers. And even if it has been adopted, there is still work to be done by the technical committees in proposing for harmonization of excise and value-added tax. So we need the policy provides for the strategies and modalities to harmonize the two taxes. We have the customs conduct to avoid harmful tax competition, which is being implemented currently by partner states, but we are currently undertaking a study to see the compliance, how is it being effected by all partner states. And as you very well know, capacity building is a continuous component that we need to continue with. We have undertaken capacity building, but we need to continue the process. So if we dive into why we need to do harmonization of taxes and what benefits it brings to in terms of revenue mobilization, we see that once we harmonize our taxes, we create a level playing field in attracting investment within our region. So this would mean that if a region as EAC has a common tax policy, every investor would feel comfortable to invest in any of the partner states. So this avoids the issue of investors looking for tax havens, because there is no country that provides better opportunity in terms of tax than the other. So this will ensure that the revenues that we collect within our region are uniform and are well taken care of. So it reduces partner state competition for resources. Of course, if a region has harmonized tax rates, they do not compete over capital by reducing their taxes because it is uniform. And so every country will be comfortable to undertake any investment measures. Definitely this will present all regions from reducing their tax rates for just to look good or to look more attractive in terms of investment. So if we look at the area of public tax, it has a less cost. So when rates are commonly set, there is none of the partner states or the region that is disadvantaged or advantaged. They all benefit at the same level. So the other would be the less cost in terms of multinational companies. Multinational companies would love to invest or to set up branches in any of the partner states because the rules and regulations and procedures are just the same. And so they would not find difficulty in establishing any of their investment in any of the partner states. It allows for fiscal transfer between partner states, reducing borrowing costs on capital markets or from private sector and international lenders. So it means, you know, like now what we are doing as a bloc, and we do like when we are negotiating with other partners, our voice speaks louder than an individual partner state. So if we have harmonized tax policies, we tend to attract the lenders or the development partners in that case to come and support the initiatives that we will have put in place. So it also minimizes revenue loss because there is no comparison on tax systems. And it promotes foreign investment, like I said earlier, because it minimizes the evil of double taxation. We have seen that the double taxation agreement was adopted. It is just the ratification component that is remaining. It avoids tax evasion and corruption because somebody will not really have the incentive the incentive to evade tax because all taxes are harmonized. If I go to Kenya, I'll have to pay the same rate that I have to pay in Tanzania. So there's no need for me to try to evade taxes. And this also relates to the issues of corruption and fraud. The compliance levels tend to increase or to improve when there is a level playing field. There is no motivation for me to be non-compliant because I'm looking at the same policies. I'm looking at a region as one in terms of taxation. So I will still comply with the tax regulations and rules. Minimization of distortions and inequality, it all comes back to the same because there is no inequality in terms of the treatment that I get within the partner state that I need to invest. So it's clear that if I go to country A, I will still benefit from what I have to benefit from country B. It promotes economic integration, which reduces on incidence of competition between countries, and also strengthens taxpayer rights. If a taxpayer knows that the procedures and policies are all harmonized, this will allow me to know what happens in each partner state. So for me to be able to know which sector, which area that is most conducive for me to invest. The areas for me to invest, sorry for that. So basically, if I try to sum it all, I would say that if partner states were to adhere to the commitments made in their various protocols and the treaty, it would lead to substantial increase in domestic revenue mobilization. And of course, like earlier mentioned, there is significant control in illicit financial flows because the financial flow would just remain within one territory and it would not be unequally distributed. So mobilization would become quite easier. But how would we achieve this? We would achieve it through harmonization of tax incentive schemes in the corporate income tax systems, particularly the EPZ. You see, we tend to give specific incentives to the economic processing zones and special economic processing zones, thinking that we are promoting our own industry for export. But this sometimes is not fair because it is not all harmonized across the board. So we need to also look at the area of dividends, and we harmonize withholding taxes on dividends, interest payments, royalties, and services fees for those who deal in capital markets and the like. So like we said, we need to enact national laws and harmonize rules on transfer pricing and try to do the thin capitalization in addition to general and avoiding clauses regarding to profit shifting. You very well know that countries tend to, or rather investors tend to look more on transfer pricing because they tend to take back the profit from where they brought it, they came from. So we need to enact those laws that actually facilitate those kind of practices within our region. And also when it comes to investment laws, we need to do so that we try to have uniform attraction of investors within our region. We have good initiatives, but sometimes it is delayed by the procedures and processes, particularly when we look at ratification, we find one partner state has ratified, another one hasn't. So that particular initiative will not take effect until there is full ratification of the procedure, all the protocols that have been put to their disposal. So with that, I thank you for your kind attention. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Flavia, and I hope you are able to hear that the people here have received your presentation very well and are clapping in excitement.
Okay. Thank
Excellent. Yeah, I have also received, interest in, people interacting with you through a brief Q&A. Would like, I'm told some of the participants would like clarification on a few things that you have raised. Don't worry, that won't take too long. I hope that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Excellent. All right,
Yeah,
but
I'm
just
trying
before
to
we do
get
that,
yeah.
just before we do that, would like a few people that are joining us virtually to introduce themselves. Don't worry, this won't take long. So if I could just, somebody is logged in as P. Mutio, TI Kenya. If you could please unmute and just introduce yourself. Would like to know who you are.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good morning from Kenya. Thank you. I am a social justice and economic accountability program lead at TI Kenya, and wanted just to say thank you very much to Madam Biosinje for that excellent presentation, very detailed and very clear about what we can do in relation to harmonization. We've been working very well with the EAC and the IALA on issues IFF at TI Kenya, made some presentation and received a lot of support from on this issue of dealing with unhealthy competition between member states and why harmonization of taxes is very useful. So we have received your presentation very well. I have very little to comment, but just to say that we have been doing a similar work, and so this is very much welcome, and thank you very much. Thank you.
I think, Kevin, we can actually take your comment now, and then we will continue. Mr. Mutio, we can take your comment now.
I thought I did, Mr. Moderator. I just
No. You said you had a comment to make.
No, I did. I think I just,
okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks. Somebody logged in as Chennai Mukumba. You can go ahead and unmute.
Hi, thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. No, thank you very much. My name is Chennai. I'm with TGNA. I work as the Policy Research and Advocacy Manager, and I'm excited to be here for this meeting. I'm looking forward to this dialogue. I think we've been exploring ways to work much more closely with Siatini, and so I'm grateful for the opportunity to participate in this meeting. Thank you very much.
All right, and thank you very much for joining us. Let's go over to Kevin K. All right, that person is physically here with us, I think. Is there anybody else who is joining us, especially from Kenya, and we haven't given you an opportunity to introduce yourself? Evelyn?
Yes, hello. Hello, I hope everyone can see me. My name is Evelyn Mwendo. I'm also joining from Kenya, representing the East African Tax and Governance Network. And we'd really like to thank Sayatini for this invitation, and also the previous speaker for such an accurate presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evelyn, and everyone else that's joining us virtually. Now, Flavia, we had requested for a few minutes to just put some questions, some clarifications, and now I'd like to open it up. If you have a question or comment from what Flavia has shared, you can just put your hand up. We'll avail a microphone. Yes, sir. Mr. Muhindo. Just
Hello.
a sec. Okay,
Yes.
excellent.
My apologies, I joined in the middle of the presentation, but one thing I wanted to ask is, in view of the East African Double Taxation Agreement, which was approved by the Council of Ministers in 2010, but in the first 5 years, only Rwanda had ratified, and as we speak, it's not yet fully ratified for it to come into force over 10 years down the road. What lessons have been picked from actors like the EAC that we bring to the discussion on harmonization of tax across the region, if a DTA that was approved by ministers in 2010 still remains unratified fully 10 years down the road?
All right. Yes, sir. Flavia, I hope you are able to hear that.
Yes,
Thank you, Flavia.
I did. Maybe I was just waiting for another person so that I respond at once. Is that
Yes,
okay?
we're taking another.
All right.
Thank you for the presentation. Mine is just like an observation, and I want to start by saying that I don't want to undermine the efforts, but I question the relevance. If at this time we are just trying to cherish the effort of reading the budget at the same time, when we don't have, when all the budgets have different currencies, we have different tax measures, we have different priorities to be implemented in a given financial year. And it is just like reading. May I take it is to be ceremonial than being relevant in one way or the other when it comes to issues of trying to harmonize the taxes, but also harmonize at the East African community level. What efforts have you taken as members of all the principal customs, all the East African community legislative assembly, to ensure that we have at least harmony, apart from the monetary union, which is taking its steps? How can we ensure that at least there are some tax measures which are common, in that if the same tax measure is going to be used in Uganda, it can be even relative to that which is going to be used in Kenya, so that we reduce on the race to the bottom when we are competing in terms of looking at the commonality on the taxes we are going to use to collect the revenue we are going to use to finance the given budgets at the EAC level and even at the member states level. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment? Evelyn, I see your hand is up. You can go ahead and make your comment or ask your question.
Thank you very much. So I noticed, I first of all, I really enjoyed the presentation, but I have one question. Currently within the East African community, we are seeing certain partner states actively deviating from some of the provisions of the protocol. And I'm talking about the setting up of international financial centers in 2 partner states in Africa, and I mean in East Africa. And there's actually one partner state that is about to give a certain investment incentive that provides that 0% corporate income tax will be charged on companies that set up in that particular international financial center. So my question is, how does the East African community stay alert and require partner states to sort of disclose whenever they're setting up such entities, or whenever they're setting up things like international financial centers within their countries? And also my question is on the monetary protocol, because in my opinion, it has some really strong obligations that it puts on partner states, specifically to do with the tax to GDP ratio. What are the challenges in enforcing that, and how can that be curbed? Yeah, thank you. I hope those aren't too many.
No, they're not. Thank you very much. Evelyn, sorry, Flavia, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much for the very insightful questions and observations. Specifically, if I could start with the issue of the double taxation agreement and the lessons that we have learned. Like I mentioned in my conclusion, it is always dependent on a partner state and the commitment of that partner state to undertake to comply with the commitments that they made during the signing of the treaty and when they joining the community. So we note that 2 countries have not yet ratified, one being the very new member of South Sudan, which has actually not been fully integrated because they haven't really even started implementing the customs union itself as the first pillar of integration. So maybe we will forgive them for that. The other is the United Republic of Tanzania, and they report they are in the final stages of ratification. So it is usually the partner states, the commitment that partner states put into that. The region, of course, we find difficulties in implementing such decisions that are not forthcoming, that are not really coming out right. So as a region, we try to, or as a secretariat, we try to push and ensure that at least partner states know their obligation to do certain commitments or to implement certain commitments. So with this, I really don't think I can comment so much, but of course it distorts trade, like you said, because if particularly in domestic area, it becomes quite difficult for me to trade in Kenya when my corporate taxes are different. Even VAT is at different. Some partner states have 16, 20, 18. So it is really difficult in that sector. So I appreciate this, and I think we will keep doing our job as a secretariat. The other was about the budget reading as one of the nice things that we are talking about, but I don't think it's only that, because if you look at it in the customs union area, we have harmonized taxes. Look at the act on importation, the Customs Management Act. The region is actually applying that one law in importation and exportation of goods within the community and outside the community. We implement the common external tariff, and we are saying that the pre-budget reading, they read, but they first discuss issues relating to tariffs. Where there is a partner states need to, actually I will respond it together with the deviation question that was raised by Madam Evelyn. Okay, if I don't get the name right, it's okay. But then when they sit, they try to understand the reason for deviation of a partner, why the partner state would want to implement a higher or a lower rate compared to what is contained in the CET. Yet the CET is the common instrument that governs us all as a region. So going back to the issue of why we do not have similar tax policies and fiscal policies, we see that the monetary union protocol will come into force in 2022-24. This is 2021. We can also do our own analysis or assessment and see, shall we really implement the monetary union by 2024? Have we done enough? Are we ready for the implementation of this protocol? So it is dependent on quite a number of factors. But what I can stress is we have moved a step. We have moved quite a bit in the area of customs union, because we have harmonized if you look at the procedure, what we are doing right now under the single customs territory, that is something to appreciate. It's a project that came into force in 2014. And we see that partner states are able to at least know that my consignment, once it is entered in Mombasa, for instance, it will arrive in Kigali as the final destination within 5 or 4 days. So that is something that we should appreciate. Look at the interconnectivity components that we have undertaken as a region, where information is shared instantly with the within the customs systems themselves. The evaluation component is a uniform application that we have done as a region to mitigate the issues of valuation and tax distortions or tax evasion. So there are quite a number of projects that have been implemented under the Customs Union Protocol, but we still accept or agree that the area of domestic and monetary union still lags behind. And these are issues that are on the table of our heads of states and our policy makers, and they are very much aware of this, and steps are being undertaken to rectify or to expedite the implementation of these policies. So how does the country, okay, the issue on profit tax on some countries putting up a 0% on profit tax, well, that one is also not, it's not very clear, but still if we had common practices under that specific sector, they should have notified the other partner states. And that's what I was saying earlier, that if we had complete harmonization of taxes, we would be at a level playing field. So there would be no partner states incentivizing an investor in a different way than what other partner state can do. So that's all that's what I can say on the raised issues. I thank you and look forward for more. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate her. Excellent. All right. We're going to move on. I know your program says that we're going to have the tea break. Realize that the tea was brought to you. just so that we redeem time. But let's take a very short break, just 5 minutes, for us to be able to stretch our legs, probably get some water or something before we can invite the panel and have the panel discussion. So just 5 minutes of a break for us to stretch our legs. Thank you. All right, I think our 5 minutes are done. Those who are standing outside in the lobby, I'd like to request that you come back inside. Again, our intention is to finish on time. Thank you very much. As we set the tone for the panel discussion, we're going to watch a short documentary that was done by Siatini. This documentary is on smuggling in the East African community. Technical team, when you're ready, you can start the documentary. Just a second. We need to figure out a way in which the teams online are able to follow the documentary with us and not just the audio. So just allow us a minute or so as we link the two.
We have put mechanisms of curtailing smuggling.
During the lockdown, smuggling went at a higher peak.
Busia, in the eastern part of Uganda, neighbors Kenya to Uganda. Bordering Tororo district to the north, Busia County, Kenya to the east, Tanzania to the south, Namaingo district to the southeast, and Bujiri district to the west. With a population size of over 360,200 people, Busia is inhabited by the Luhya tribe of Kenya, with smaller groups of Teso and the Luo. The Luhya communities, being the dominant, include the Abakyayo, Marachi, Samia, and Abanyala communities. With its unique nature in ethnic composition and diversity, trade has become the unifying factor. No doubt, trade is booming in all its various forms, informal or informal. It's all about the money in this border district. To some, it is a way of life, but to most, it has become an issue of survival, leaving most traders with no choice but to transact business illegally. This illegal trade form has a name, Funtula. To best understand this trade manner, we head off to the common day market, Kayola, as locally dubbed. Dust painted on the different commodities, a mixture of different merchandise, all displayed on the roadside, catches our attention. the scenery in this business hub, you can't miss seeing cyclists carrying different merchandise like salt, wheat flour, boxes of washing soap, cooking oil, sugar, among other items. On the side of motorcycles with Kenyan number plates parked at different commodity shops, our attention is drawn to discover more about this. While still grappling with Kenyan motorcycles, tricycles ridden by persons with disabilities whisk our attention as they crisscross, also ferrying different commodities. Without any idea that these are party to the Funtula fiesta, we inquire.
Custom najja kweyikizaawo kubanga nno nga baŋŋamba nti Funtula gyali mufuntula ne mufuna ssente naye kati temuli ssente olw'ensonga ebintu byalinnya tebiri wansi singa biri wansi nga tufunamu nga n'abagagga bayingira ne bajja ne babigula ne balyoka ne batutiika okubayikizaawo kuba bo tebayita eggoba nnyo bano ab'obugaali aba piki abe bagirako ddala n'okubijjayo kubeera kuzibu naye nze wembeera nabyo kuno ne babinzijjako kinyanguwira ogendayo okubikima naye ndina ogendayo nga ndinamu emitwalo 25.
This is eye-opening. We now have an idea of the smuggling taking place in broad daylight. The extent at which the vice has penetrated is our next mission. Within the same market, we sample the different Kenyan manufactured goods on the shelves. Salt, locally called chumvi, wheat flour, cooking oil, all with marks indicating that these are manufactured in Kenya, and these are the same commodities we have seen all morning ferried by cyclists all around Busia town. From the horse's mouth, this is confirmed.
Kenya, tulina okuwa omusolo kandi olina obisamu nkokutu ng'obireeta motoka neekukwata ngenda kusaba ssente nnyingi kubituusa wano.
Just biyita ngeri y'amagendo, just biteeka ku kagaali si bitapanya bisobola okubeera nga tuuka wano.
Boda emba neetiise nti kamwako bakaakola ki bakandekera n'enkayisaawo naye emba neetiiseeyo bungi basobola okunzijjako akasente nembyambuka nendeeta naye mba neetiise kachumbi kamu impitawo ne bandeka.
According to the traders, they are willing to do anything and absolutely everything in their power to maximize profit. The only way to achieve this is to break the law.
I don't know, ogenda kuyita kubireeta olina soka kuwa empoza wali eri musolo okubisawo ku poliisi gy'obiisizaawo awo waliwo abatuula awo baliwo.
Obumonde buno bw'obugulira mu Kenya akasawo kagula 7,000 buno bwa Kenya naye baba busasulira omusolo ne babuyingiza mu Uganda okagula 7,000 oli bw'omugamba kagamba ati omanyi nga tubusasulira omusolo wali omusolo gwe gweyongerako anusu akasanvu naye nze bwe ngenda ne kagula mu Kenya mwennyini ate leveni ensumbu wakubayo kyentya.
Uganda biri waggulu nnyo obanga osubudde ebya Kenya biriko akasente ebya Uganda tebiriiko.
Ekigira tetujja wano Uganda chumbi olw'okuba wa bbeeyi kati nga omanyi bizinesi onoonyako akaliko ka bbeeyi wansi.
Subiro batofunako kuba ndikatunda kaliko 3,000 akakatoni kalamba kati bwe nkasasulira omusolo gwa 2,000 mba naafunako ki.
On the Kenyan side as well, Funtula is manifesting. The commonly smuggled goods from Uganda to Kenya are sugar, polythene bags, and beer.
Kenya mwenga gwali nga guli expensive, products za Kenya ezo mwenga ziri expensive. Kati kyaita abantu okuba nga bagula nnyo wano nga guli cheap. especially ngakachupa ngaka kam so kumuguza kunusu like 30 boom. That is like around 900 1000 something as a Uganda. Ngakatuse Kenya akatunda 100 plus Kenyan money. Katiziba like 3000 something plus. Kati nichibanga gulika maguba manji.
Smuggling is illegal and punished by law. The enforcers in this case being Uganda Revenue Authority and Kenya Revenue Authority. Question remains, are they doing their job?
Abasirikale ba gundi abe Kenya webali n'aba Uganda webali buli mukubo wetuyitira baliwo tebatukiriza ne woba situdde ekintu ekimu olina okisasulira siringi 10,000 tebatukwata nti no nti batukwasa oba nti oba kiki naye batujjako olw'obuzito bibeera bingi bibeera bingi ne batujjako kati we babitwala eri batugamba tukwate emitwalo 20 tulyoke tujjeyo ebintu bye batusituddeko naye nga 2 galiwa 25.
It's a public secret that counter-smuggling is a cancer-ravaging Busia district. With all efforts to wipe it out, the vice has since taken various shapes. Infrastructure development such as cargo scanners and the non-intrusive inspection units has been a major component of the one-stop border post innovations.
We do scanning of all cargo trucks and then we do the analysis. This is the control box that controls the whole station. This way we can check the performance of the system. And this is called smart, it's called fast scan. It's just a drive-through. This is the first station. In this station, we do documentary check. This is where we scan all the documents of the entries that have been captured. From here, the image is sent to the second station. That's where the image analysis is done. And when we do the image analysis, it's either it has irregularities or not. When it has irregularities, it is forwarded for physical verification. If it doesn't have irregularities, we pass it through. That's what happens. And we have been having cases where smuggling has been taking place and they have been detected in this machine. So the good thing with this machine doesn't delay any consignments. Just a drive-through, vehicles drive-through. In a minute you can scan like around 4 to 5 vehicles. So it's very fast and it has been helping a lot in curbing corruption, not corruption, smuggling. And we really appreciate this system and it's doing well for us. And it has improved compliance. Basically that's what we do here.
Alas karanga sapane rikatini. Ajaya ngo point ne lomar Kenya. Egweki ngana ikani keda makoroni ya sabuni ya chubu na uni. Ke
According to the customs office in Busia, 4 to 8 smugglers are captured on a daily. To this effect, 536 million Ugandan shillings is recovered monthly in the eastern region. Mr. Armstrong Turiachira weighs in on the extent of loss encountered as a result of smuggling and other forms of illicit financial flows in Busia.
People have grown knowing that I can cross, pick something. You will get a scenario where we have now here the population, they have a home in Uganda, have a home in Busia, Kenya. And so it's very difficult to tell someone that when you go across, you carry the product, you smuggle. We have put mechanisms of curtailing smuggling, but that does not rule out that some people still venture, especially through outright smuggling. People go through the bushes. But now that the other one where someone would drive a whole truck and evade and avoid tax offices, it's not as possible as it used to be. The biggest contribution to that product being smuggled, or most of the products being smuggled, is the value attached to those products. So whether light or heavy or what, but the value that is attached to the product is what actually forces sometimes people, influences people to smuggling. The impact for the last 7 months, I would say, for instance, the recoveries that we've made from people who have smuggled, we've made around 3.7 billion, and that would be lost revenue if there was no intervention. So on average, we can say 536 million is recovered per month from the region.
We are also told about the products like pharmaceutical drugs and agro-inputs that are tax exempted according to the law but continue to be smuggled into the country via the various entry points. This also shows a gap in tax education.
Pharmaceutical drugs don't pay taxes. They're exempted. But agricultural inputs, someone wants to run away and carry the products. Those are some of the products that people want to smuggle, but still they are not supposed to be smuggling. Goods manufactured in Kenya are zero rated. Goods manufactured in Uganda are zero rated if you go take them across. But
recently, Kenya banned the commercialization of timber products such as charcoal. Another banned product is the polythene bags. The two commodities, however, continue to surface on the Kenyan market as they are now smuggled into Kenya from Uganda. This is simply because they are still permissible for trade in Uganda. With this disharmony in policies, eradicating smuggling is still a myth.
The different trading blocks determine the different tax attributes that they also charge on the products and goods that come in. But domestically, when we talk about domestic VAT, we haven't reached the harmonization because of a different development programs. We are at different levels, but the effort by the EAC is to ensure that, even at the Secretariat in Arusha, the effort is to ensure that we all harmonize the taxes that would hinder our people to develop into a federation.
We are chanced to visit the area where confiscated goods are withheld. According to the law, a smuggler is charged with payment equivalent to 50% of the value for the product.
But now you have smuggling, it's a tax rate as if you imported from other countries. So duty rate is you have 25, you add 18%, the value you add 6% withholding tax, and you average that, and all that is out of the value of the product. In addition to the penalty of 50% of the value. All that is charged in this person. So you find someone is paying close to 100%.
Wandera Joffre, the Busia LC5 chairperson, highlights social aspects as a key driving factor, also facilitated by the porous nature of the border. He appreciates that much has been deprived of Busia and Uganda at large as a result of the much lost revenue due to smuggling. His concern, however, is the appropriation of funds that he calls imbalanced, as many districts continue to benefit from the money Busia collects, leaving the border district in tatters.
Now, for people to appreciate that we are collecting a lot of money in form of taxes from this border point, a certain percentage should be left to the border, such that people know this is what has come out of our border, the collections. So even when the local people are paying, they know we are part of the beneficiaries. But the traditional saying or the common saying that let's collect from one basket, collection basket at national level, then we distribute in the form of grants to local government. People have never seen that one as being appreciative.
The Resident District Commissioner, Honorable Akiru John Robert, confirms that they are aware of this vice. The efforts have been geared to curb it, working in collaboration with the relevant authorities in Kenya.
It is causes how it is transacted across the borders and how best we can handle it. We discuss it in the District Security Committee and bring all these things into perspective and then agree as a team and as implementers of government programs, see how to curb the smuggling. And this has been done quite often. We sit with all the heads of departments. We sit with the police. I'm the one who shares the meetings. We sit with all sister agencies that all the responsibility of ensuring that this country is safe. We also sit with all these implementing agencies like Uganda Revenue Authority. They are represented in the Security Committee. We have the Immigration Department, also represented in the Security Committee. Then we have these other bodies like the anti-smuggling section, we have them. Then we have the leadership of the local government of Busia. We have the district chairperson, we have the chief administrative officer, who is the chief executive of the local government. So when we sit down on these issues, we discuss a lot of things in regard to smuggling.
According to Uganda Revenue Authority, Uganda loses $270,000 daily as a result of smuggling. Civil society organizations are concerned about revenue losses that continue to deter the country from achieving its domestic revenue mobilization expectations. Regina Navuga, the program coordinator, Financing for Development at Siatin, Uganda, elucidates more about illicit financial flows and their impact on the East African community, as well as the nexus between smuggling and illicit financial flows.
Illicit financial flows, of course, this is money transferred, items transferred illegally and illegally across borders. And we know smuggling is also takes that form sometimes. There are different items that are smuggled across borders. Some of them, of course, indirectly, some people are unaware, but some of them, of course, do it deliberately with the intention of dodging, paying taxes, ideally. And from our work, we noted that this has taken on different forms. It has evolved over time. While URA is going after the cargo, maybe the cars on the roadside, there we know we have porous borders and people use different forms. People, one by one, are engaging in smuggling. The cyclists, people with disabilities, even children. It's so absurd that sometimes parents use their children to go across borders to get maybe one item. And because it's one item, URA might, I think, they might not give it the attention it deserves. Yet we know that if this is done over time, it amounts to the revenue loss in the country.
All is not lost. The fight can be won if all stakeholders work together to a common cause.
We are doing sensitizations, education of the taxpayer, because sometimes we have realized some don't know what their obligation and what they are supposed to go. But also the other channel is we use punitive measures to ensure that people don't repeat the habit of smuggling. We are encouraging now voluntary compliance. We communicate to them and we encourage them to come and do voluntary compliance. Our stakeholder relations have encouraged us to work with other agencies.
Today we're talking about smuggling, but it's not only the different items, the small items. We know this will be also in the extractive sector and other sectors broadly. So how do we motivate the citizens to appreciate the importance of paying taxes so that they don't continue dodging, They need to see good roads. People at the border need to see that government is taking initiatives to put in place good health facilities, good schools, And at the ESC level, we need to see to it that we fast track the implementation as well as the discussion around tax policies, We've been, for a long time, we've been talking about harmonizing.
This syndrome that we have always developed as Ugandans and as Africans, that the whites are the ones who are supposed to donate, they are supposed to give us money, they are supposed to give us loans, is one other wrong mentality which is eating the Pan-African spirit amongst our people. That we are not supposed to pay taxes. Somebody must pay taxes. In a similar way is the situation where you find some local governments not mobilizing their own revenue and relying on Uganda Revenue Authority.
Sorry about that. As we get the lights back on, thank you very much, technical team and the team that put this documentary together. I hope it gives us, you know, a good platform for having the discussion, the panel discussion that we are going to have. I don't know if we have any comments in relation to what we've seen in the documentary. All right, let's get a microphone to you. As a microphone comes to you, do we have any lawyers in the room? Any lawyer? Apologies. Is smuggling a strict liability offense? It is, huh? So whether you know or you do not know, once you're smuggling, you're smuggling. Okay, excellent, excellent. The lawyer has told us. Please avail the gentleman a microphone. No, the one behind him. The lawyer already answered. He has told us strict liability. It depends on what you're smuggling. Julius is bringing politics here. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm Henry Bazira and I work with the Water Governance Institute. I'm a member of the Tax Justice Alliance. And I have enjoyed watching the documentary. The sound clip was from Terminator film, which was played by Sylvester Stallone. That was for me an interesting thing, that it was more like an action movie that put aside. But there's something I noted in the documentary. The URA official stated that they are recovering 536 million Uganda shillings every month. And down into the documentary, a statement was made that they lose $350,000 every day. I just did my simple mathematics here, and using the exchange rate of 3,670, I discovered that on a daily basis, we are losing 1.28 billion shillings in lost revenue. So that tells me a lot, that either the systems that URA at customs is not being effective in recovery, or there's collusion, or that the system is so entrenched that even the official record is a compromise of the record. So there is more money we can actually make by enforcement or strengthening the movement of goods across the border. The other bit I also noticed is that our borders are porous because of very many factors, but one very critical one is that you find a man has families on both sides, and he has to cater for the family on both sides. They have national IDs from both sides. They vote on both sides. So if in that case, a person has dual citizenship and is moving goods from one home to another home, do we still call that smuggling? So these are things that I want us to ponder about and see how best we can deal with.
All right.
Thank you.
And you can move what? 10 tons of something from one house to another?
Yeah, it's their goods. I've got them from my farm to the other farm.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if we have anybody else with a comment before I call up the panelists. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'm Annette from Busia. If I look at the...
Annette, since you're from Busia, Is the documentary telling us the truth?
Yeah, it is the truth.
All right. Yes, please go ahead with your comment.
My comment is on government. Me, I work with women traders. I work with Yasi at Busia border. But when I look at Busia town, as you've seen the documentary, I could say Busia is the dirtiest town in the country. But just imagine the revenue that is collected at Busia border. I would urge the government. I saw LOC5 here pointed out that if they could collect the taxes, that revenue, and at least instead of collecting it at one point, then they bring back the grant to the government, they would at least leave some revenue to keep the town, at least to develop the town, than taking everything, collecting everything. They take at one collecting point, then that in turn, we start receiving the grant, which cannot develop the town. At least as we collect revenue from the town, we should also put in mind that this town, at least it needs some development. So I could urge the government, at least when you look at Busia, the documentary, you've seen it, you see garbages of everything in front of town, in front of traders. They are trading, but they're trading in dirt places. So the government should at least look into that and feel for the people they are collecting revenue from. Thank you.
All right. The documentary focused on Ugandan smugglers. Are there people from other countries that are smuggling in that area? Yes, sir? Okay. All right. Oh, your hand had gone up. All right. Any other hand? All right. If we don't have any other comments on the documentary, please allow me to invite our panel now. I'd like to begin with Mr. Anthony Maraka. He's a senior economist, Tax Policy Department, Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Please make him feel welcome as he comes to the front. We also have Mr. Sam Musige. He's a Principal Commercial Officer, Ministry of East African Community Affairs. Please make him feel welcome. Then we have Ms. Mariam Babu. She's a woman cross-border trader, Uganda Busia border. The program you have in front of you states that we're supposed to have Mr. Julius Nkwasire, Assistant Commissioner, Enforcement, Uganda Revenue Authority. He hasn't been able to come, but just so I know, do we have anyone from URA? Don't worry, I won't call you to the front. Anyone from URA? You're from URA, okay. Because some questions are going to come up, and I know that there are these things of officially being designated to go and speak and what have you, but when you stay there, you can clarify some of the things for us, isn't it? Thank you very much. Okay. I think I'll stay over here. In fact, I'd like to start by getting your reactions to what you've seen in the documentary. Let me begin with you, Anthony. Can we also have a sanitizer up here? Especially for the gentleman who will be sharing the microphone. Is it on now? You can go right ahead.
Obviously, I enjoyed the documentary quite a lot, and I just wanted to comment on, I didn't get her name, the lady from Busia, and she brings out a very critical issue, which we looked at when we were coming up with the domestic mobilization strategy. And that's this idea of, I'm paying taxes, what is my benefit from it? I'm calling it the fiscal social contract. And that is one of the issues we found is a challenge in terms of compliance with paying taxes. Taxpayers want to know, where is my money going? And we've come up with some ways to address that. But she like she said, the place is dirty, the roads are bad, and yet you're still paying taxes. So that issue is very key in terms of affecting compliance. So those concerns, we've noted them, and we're still coming up with strategies. I think Siatini participated in developing this. We consulted them when we were developing the domestic revenue mobilization strategy. And those are some of the issues, and it needs a whole of government effort to provide the public goods that the public is expecting. And yes, that's one of the things. I just wanted to note that concern, that it's one of the things we have noted. The other thing about smuggling is, I noticed also that the broader question I'm asking, is it really about tax? Because Ugandan goods are going to Kenya, Kenyan goods are going to Uganda. And if it's about the VAT differential, for instance, of 2%, Kenya has 16, we have 18. Is it really a tax issue, or is it about the cost of doing business, where you can find products cheaper in Kenya and vice versa for those specific commodities? Like beer, for instance, is going from Uganda to Kenya, and I was seeing sold from Kenya to Uganda. So is it really only about tax, or is it the broader question of competitiveness in our different respective economies? It's one thing I wanted to provoke the audience's thinking on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, Sam.
Thank you. I think I want to begin to appreciate the lady from, is it called Yasi? What she said, and the gentleman from who said something also important. First of all, one is that the issue of saying that people from Busia, since a lot of money is collected from Busia, they should be able to benefit, is very important, would be very okay, but then we say the funds should go to the consolidated fund first. I happen to come from Bunyoro, and we are talking about oil, and we say some percentage must remain from the area where the oil is being mined from. So I think this one, I think, needs further discussion and some policy changes at a higher level. But it will be equally very important that sincerely, if they are collecting something, if the government would work out some proportion of whatever percentage to remain there, so that it develops the area. That's very important. Two, also the issue of, like we said, you know, these borders came out in, I think, in 18. It was the Berlin Conference, which sat somewhere and decided these borders. So all this Africa was like same country. People had a kingdom, and people could move freely. Like we were saying, you remember that we used to have a minister in Uganda and a vice president in Kenya, and these were all from the same family. So it's very difficult up to date for those people to tell them that you are passing a panya or you are smuggling goods from one household to another, from one wife to another. If you're a man, you have Sarah here and Jane this side. So you're moving from one home to another. So you are telling me I am doing what? I am smuggling. What am I smuggling? This is, I'm the same person. So it's a bit difficult, and it is historical in people's minds, and it's become difficult. It's difficult to be fought. So it takes time. You need to, even if you exercise them for how many years, because they lived there longer before the borders. So they're different people. It's a challenge, but we have to live with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariam.
Thank you so much. Once again, I'm Mariam Babu. I'm a trader and the chairperson of Busia Women Cross-Border Traders Cooperative. When we talk of smuggling, I love to call it informal cross-border trade. But when you call it smuggling, to me it sounds weird. Having done informal cross-border trade for 8 years, I have an experience. Actually, we need to know why informal cross-border trade? What are the factors? We should address, first of all, the factors before actually discuss about tax issues. Having done informal cross-border trade, which you call smuggling, for 8 years, up to the extent that one time I was carrying my brother's body to bring it to my home area in Kayunga for burial. The revenue officials could not believe I had a body. They had to open it. That means I was a staunch one. But what are the causes? Let us look at the root causes of smuggling. That's when we shall come to do what? To address it or to stem the IFSs.
Actually, Anthony had started.
Yeah, when I look at the documentary.
What are those root causes? Because in, coming up with a solution, it's important that we diagnose correctly.
Yeah, that's what I was coming to. According to the documentary, actually, that's what is going on at Busia border. And here you have seen those porous, the illegal crossing points, that's Sophia and Marach. Those ones are near the one-stop border post, whereby it's easy to control and manage the smuggling. But we have crossings which are far from even what? The border. When you go to Buyengo, it's a bit far from the customs, whereby someone cannot buy, okay, you are here in Buyengo, the shops are just opposite you. Huh? There is no way I can buy goods from Buyengo, carry them again to Busia town, to customs, to formalize the what? My trade. That's the first point. We have corruption. I look at corruption among other community members or the traders and the agencies themselves. One time I had a documentary, and as I was taking the shots, I had to ask for permission at the crossings actually. And when I tried to explain that to security officer what we were actually aiming at, because I was like, we are using this documentary to educate, to teach people what are the dangers of what? Doing informal cross-border trade or doing what? Because informal is two types. There is informal where you go through illegal what? Routes, and there is informal where you go through the gazetted what? Route, whereby a woman with the tomatoes in the basin can go through the what? The customs. But this one of the Panya routes, I was trying to explain. The security man, the policeman told me, Mariam, you were born when people are smuggling and you will die when people are doing what? Smuggling. Can you imagine that attitude, that statement from a government official? We have to change, to shift our mindsets, my brothers and sisters. He told me so. So we have the corruption. The traders are corrupt, even the agencies are what? Are corrupting. Because I look at it, I've been saying it again and again. If you, okay, because it's well known that a big percentage of smugglers or informal cross-border traders are women. And it's true, because we deal in small petty what? Businesses. And some of them feel they don't fit in the gazetted areas. They feel those bigger consignments are down to go through the what? The gazetted areas. Yeah? Do you get it? So we need to change, most especially the government agencies. If the woman is going through the illegal route, why don't you just guide? Why do you promote by getting a what? A bribe to make her go what? Through. They have turned it into a what? A source of income, whereby they get money on a daily what? Basis. That's corruption. Secondly, information gap. When I talk of information gap, do the traders have information on the existing what? Policies? First of all, are the policies localized? When we talk about women cross-border traders, most of us, our literacy levels are low. The policies are in English and even technical to us. We need to understand them fully, because we are the beneficiaries. If we understand the policies fully, we can comply. We can even own the policies, because some of the policies, we benefit from them, but we don't know. When I look at the ESC, it has good policies. Like when I look at the one-stop border post as a tool to facilitate trade, it has so many benefits. Like today, we reduced on the time and the cost of trade, of course, because it's no longer lining up in Kenya and Uganda. The entry and exit formalities are done at the point of what? Exit. But people don't know. They feel it's still the other, whatever store of lining up with what sides. Like someone can cross with only an ID without having, you can just get an interstate pass. People don't know. People don't have the information. People don't know what those benefits of the ES integration. Like you have the simplified trade regime. You find that a woman is going through the bush, even the goods she's carrying don't apply taxes. Sometimes it only apply what? VAT and withholding. And that's even less than what she's paying in the bush. We need to disseminate the policies to make the beneficiaries, the consumer, understand the existing what? Policies. In Uganda, you have the women facilitation framework. But people don't know. We have a women desk whereby people get information, whereby us as women, in fact, let me first get even this, allow me get this opportunity to thank the ES and the government of Uganda, because they gave us a space for the women. That women facilitation desk, it has at least promoted, it has improved on the status of women at the border, because the desk make us address some non-tariff barriers. We sit at the joint border committee meetings and raise the issues affecting us as women. And mind you, for us, we have those specific, unique what? Challenges as women. Because when it gets darker, when I'm doing the trade, as a woman, I'm more at risk than a woman, than a man. So I appreciate the government of Uganda through the Uganda Revenue Authority for giving us that space and for adapting us on the joint border and the border management committees, because we can raise and, okay, we get information for the ladies. There are times whereby, okay, according to the women facilitation framework, as women, we don't need to get clearing agents. An officer clears for us freely, but women don't know, they don't have the information. Sometimes if you don't have even the information, the officials get that advantage that you are ignorant. Sometimes you go to ask for the PB4 forms, someone can refer you where you're going to pay everything, yet you have a certificate of origin. Do the citizen, the community know their certificates of origin? Do they know their opportunities, their benefits? Do they know we have the Askuda world whereby information is uniform? There is no exaggerating. The community doesn't. We need to disseminate the information. Then we have what we call competition. As small scale traders, we are out competed. Like some time back, we have been trading that salt, the K salt. The K salt, it's they indicated it's supposed to be used by the people of Kenya, not for export. But again, the available salt, which should be imported, was monopolized by one person. For us as smaller scale traders, we could not do what? Buy it from Kenya and bring it to Uganda. So that out competition also, because of our limited capitals, is one of the factors which are making us to do smuggling or informal trade. Because when they say that you can't clear it, this means I'll go the other way. Get it through the bush and sell it to Uganda. We have still non-tariff barriers attached to the simplified trade regimes. Sometimes even the officials, I don't know if they also don't have the information. One time I was coming to Bustema with my certificate, I've paid the taxes, but the official on the road could not interpret. He moved me out of the taxi and my luggage. At last, when it was taken to official in the office, my things were okay. And by the time it was okay, the taxi had already gone. I paid everything. That's wastage of my time. And now that is increasing the cost of trade for me. These are some of the things, the non-tariff barriers, which make us go through the bush, the illegal routes. Yeah.
All right.
We have high taxes. In the ESC, the taxes are not, sometimes are not even harmonized. We have that unharmonized taxes. The standards, you can be cleared by the standards in Uganda, and when you reach Kenya, they say that the things are substandard. We have the VAT, as you have been saying. VAT in Kenya is 16 and here Uganda 18. You find that the same commodity is cheaper in Kenya, and then you start saying buy Uganda, build Uganda. How can I leave the other one, the cheaper one, and come for this one with the what, high what? Taxes, what, which is expensive. Huh? Those are the causes. Huh? Sometime back, we had an incident of Kenya stopping our sugarcane from going to Uganda, from going to their country, and we got stuck with the sugarcane. People lost their money. But that very sugar cane still is on the list of the common goods traded in the region. Eh? We don't know which goods are banned. We don't know which goods are restricted, prohibited. We just get stuck as we reach the border because they don't update even that common list of goods. Eh? Ladies and gentlemen, we have to look at those factors. For the time being, I think, let me pause.
From the things that you've shared, we can have a one-week workshop because there are quite many, and unfortunately time will not allow for us to go into each of them. But it's good that you raise this so that even as the two other panelists, make their submissions, they can touch on these issues. And I'd like to start with my neighbor, Sam, on harmonization. It seems, in one instance, we talk about harmonization as a solution to a number of these issues. And yet, from the lived experience, the steps towards harmonization don't seem to be moving quick enough. Could you just address, what's being done to ensure that we harmonize some of these things so that these non-tariff and other barriers are dealt with?
Thank you very much. Harmonization, you see, the East African community, like she was saying, we have the customs union, common market, monetary union, and political federation. And like all of us know, but of course, these have been different partner states, and we have domestic laws, and the domestic laws are quite different. And so we have been trying to make sure that these laws have been harmonized so that we are able to, goods are able to move within the region with little impediments. Now, we have had the East African domestic tax harmonization policy was approved in 2019, but this is handling specifically 3 areas: the VAT, the income tax, and the excise duties. So still work is being done here. We haven't completely finalized the harmonization. When we go into the other areas, we talked about the customs union.
No, just before you move from that, for example, the example that has been given is on VAT. What is the problem? Still on.
Like she has said, you see, these are different. I don't know how I should say it. You see, this is Uganda. It has got its domestic laws. The VAT tax is different from the one in
yes,
Kenya.
And we've agreed we are going to harmonize.
We are going to harmonize.
So what's the problem?
Yeah, it is a process. It is a process. So you first have to sit internally as Uganda, discuss, agree. Kenya sits and other countries sit. That's why you had, even you are being told that the double taxation agreement has not yet been ratified by other countries. It was passed a long time ago. So these are independent countries, and you cannot push them to the wall. So you go slowly. And you see at the EAC, we use what we say that we don't use, somebody must agree. You don't say that because 3 countries have agreed, then one remaining or 2, then you say, no, this law must pass. So every country must agree. They can say we are still consulting. Maybe Uganda can say we are still consulting on domestic tax. And you will have to give them time. It's an independent country. And of course, some countries use it as a delaying tactic. That's why you can see the same thing going on and on for long.
All right.
This NTB has been talking about. They are everywhere, and we have agreed that we should have free movement of goods within the region. But the NTBs are there. So, sugar going to Kenya, milk, what? Then their things are coming here, then they are stopping ours. So I think there is the commitment. The laws are available, fine. The ECA, what we call the East African Customs Management Act, ECMA, is available. That's what we use. But of course, some particular institutions come out with a particular thing and they say we are still doing, like Kenya, they say, for example, with sugar, the Kenya Sugar Board, which gives import licenses to people who are importing from Uganda. They might delay, they might refuse to give them. So we have some small issues. It's like, I don't know how I should say it. If 2 people come together to agree on something, 2 different homes, they make an agreement. Home A and home B, there are children and wives there, and they also decide. So you cannot agree completely on everything 100%. This one says no, wait, this one says, so that's the challenge we have. But in the principle, things are supposed to move to be okay, they're supposed to have harmonized, but then some other countries say we are still consulting with stakeholders, we're still doing this one, we're still doing the other one. So that's where the challenge is, and you cannot force people or a sovereign state to do what you think is the right thing. But right. Eventually we shall reach there.
All right. If you actually hadn't finished your submission, I talked about this with somebody during the break, and we interrogated the whole issue of, is sovereignty the problem? And I asked him what was done in Europe. And there are conversations around ceding some aspects of sovereignty in order for these things to move.
Yeah, I think that's where the challenge is. We have what we call country, what should we call it, internal country conspiracy. In other words, for example, you can agree in a meeting, or you address the press and tell them this is the position. But inwards, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Because you see, for example, we have companies like the ones producing sugar, salt, and other things. So we might need to protect our local industries. And so in the process, we have the rules governing us, but because we want to protect our local industries, or we have our personal interests, we say we are allowing goods to move freely, but at the same time we say, no, you tell maybe UNRWA or URA or another institution to do what? First hold this one. Like we're having problems with milk going to Kenya. Our milk has been going there, but it has been stopped. They were claiming that maybe it is substandard. They came for verification and they found that this milk comes from Uganda. But still there are issues. It's not being allowed to go. And you cannot push too much ahead. The things have moved. We have discussed at the bilateral level, technical level, ministerial level, and the things at the heads of state level. So you may not be able to do much at some levels. But of course, government, that's how they operate. We are still discussing. But we are supposed to have bilateral meetings soon.
So what do you communicate to the trader when, at that level, we fail to agree and we're sending mixed messages? How should the trader react? Because she says this is part of the problem. We don't know what is allowed, what is not, when it has been stopped, and those kinds of things.
Yeah, of course, the good thing is that at all the borders, we have government agencies which are updated. And all these government agencies have got the information. But if there is something which has happened, like I've told you, sugar has been stopped to go, or sugar cane is not being allowed to go, or milk, we now enter major and most cases we use bilateral meetings. We start discussing with those guys to see what is the problem. We remember the Parliament of Kenya, for example, sat some time back and was complaining that cheap, how do you think they were calling it, cheap and poor quality products are entering their market. And they put the Minister of Trade on task in Kenya and the agriculture. So they had to also to defend their jobs, and they said, no, first stop, we shall give permits, we are doing ABCD. So some of these things are more political than economic. And therefore you use the political means to make sure you solve them. And Kenya is, for example, one of the greatest partners. We export to them, they also export to us. So you cannot use the laws only themselves, but you also need to negotiate. And that's what we are doing.
All right, thank you. And then even before I ask you any question, would you like to weigh in on what we have talked about so far?
Yeah, sure. You asked a question on EU, and I just wanted to tell you, for instance, in the EU, the VAT rate is not the same. Because harmonization is not about just rates. The entire, within the framework of VAT, things that you need to bring in harmony in order for you to achieve some level of harmonization. There are countries with rates as high as 27%. I think that's Hungary, and others much less than that. So in the process of harmonization, if you remember one of Flavia's slides, there's a sort of sliding scale from standardization all the way down convergence. Standardization is what we have as in terms of trade policy. We have a common external tariff, one ESC Customs Management Act, a Customs Union Protocol, and all that in terms of trade policy. So the next steps in harmonization are looking at domestic taxes, which is still an issue of sovereign states, like you alluded to. And I think there's that challenge of what do we see, what do we give up in order to benefit from harmonization? And even in the EU, it's still a question of national legislators determining domestic tax policy. That one is just the rule. But in terms of VAT, I participated in some of these discussions on tax harmonization. There are certain principles we have agreed to, and I don't want to get too technical, but things like determining common rules for exemptions, things like adopting a standard rate subject to an ESC-wide minimum. So you're not going to say that all of us could be at 16, for instance, or 18, but you can give a range, you say from, say, 14 to 20% as a range. Then you adopt, for instance, what should we all zero rate or what should we exempt? Things like who should receive VAT relief, specific persons or organizations, adopting common rules for implementing the credit method, adopting a framework, common framework for tax incentives under VAT, rules for registration and thresholds. All that is part of the discussion. So it's not just a single rate, because the idea is to not use domestic tax legislation to favor one partner state over another in terms of attracting investment. But what I need to make some comments on what Mariam said, and she's spot on all these issues, because these are some of the issues we encounter when we interact with taxpayers. Informality. 51% of our economy is informal. People need to survive. So there's that question of what's the incentive for someone to formalize versus, is it the burden of formalization? Is it too high? Maybe those are the things we need to look at reducing. It talks about the information gap. People don't know this information, that if you import goods from Kenya, you're not supposed to pay import duty, for instance, because we're in a customs union. People don't know this. So they might say the taxes are too high. Yes, VAT and maybe withholding will apply, obviously, since it's domestic tax. But that's where now a colleague from URA, if he was here, would allude to the need for taxpayer education. these are the things URA is supposed to do as the tax administrator. They do them, but how effective is it? Do they need to do it more? That would be one of the issues that we have to look at. Corruption, that one is a song we have sung in Uganda. I'm not even going to add anything there. The incentive to smuggle, are the processes maybe too complicated, too long? So someone says, rather than going through the formal processes, let me pass the panya, because it's easier. You don't have to file all these documents and things like that. But obviously, government, finance and tax and URA are doing some steps. Things like she said, some of them, one border stock posts, single windows, the electronic single window, and then there's the document processing center at URA. Try to reduce these processes such that traders don't have to encounter high costs in complying with the law. So yeah, we hear what she's saying, and a lot of them come the same issues, and we're trying to work on them through some of these processes. Simplified trade regime, she mentioned that. The authorized economic operators. So it's, I think, a process, and as we continue, maybe we'll see some benefits coming from that, because we're seeing some reductions in waiting times and things like clearances, but I don't know if it just trickled through to the small trader that is doing business at the border.
The small trader, something that was raised earlier on that may be ignored and yet it means a lot to the small trader is, I'm being asked to formalize, I'm being asked to pay all these taxes. However, when I look at where I am, I don't see the benefit. Therefore, why should I go ahead and do these things? Why should I go 2 extra kilometers to the official crossing point when even when I pay that money, I am not seeing the benefit from it? Are these some of the issues that are being dealt with so the common man, the common trader like you refer to, can be incentivized to do it the correct way, the way they're being told it's supposed to be done?
Yeah, I think I also alluded to that when the first statement I made is her comment of this disconnect between paying taxes and not seeing a benefit. And it affects people's compliance. It's one of the things that we are actually continuing to study. And this is going to take a whole of government effort to improve service delivery. Because someone then will see, okay, this is why I pay taxes. URA is trying to do it. I think you've seen some of those adverts, because of you, children can go to school. Yes, it's probably not enough, but we can do more in that area to show you that there's this link between you paying taxes and the provision of public goods that government is undertaking. I think we need to do that better. It's an area we can improve.
All right. I want to come back when we talk about the double taxation agreements, but Mariam would like some clarity on something you've raised.
Thank you so much. I would also like to get some information on as to why Uganda we have withholding tax and Kenya doesn't have. This makes a difference. Like I'm exporting raw agricultural products to Kenya, I totally don't pay anything. If at all, I get a certificate of origin. And when I bring that very product to Uganda, I have to pay withholding. I think that's also an effect on what? Formalizing trade or business. Right. Then I look at the road user things. Some countries in the ESC have what? Pay per kilometer, and some you just pay as the vehicle enters, you just pay at once. They don't do it like I once experienced it in Rwanda, that for them you pay some, was it by then $150 or $50, and it's not per kilometer. Can we harmonize that still? Then I'm looking at domestic taxi. When it comes to domestic taxi, there is the formalization. That's getting a business name and a TIN. So we have a challenge as small scale traders, most especially the women whom I represent. There are strict deadlines when it comes to filing returns and payment of what? Of taxes. You find that most of the women cannot file returns. They don't have that technical whatever to file returns, and failure to file the returns in the when you don't meet the what? The deadline,
You attract penalties.
Penalties, fines, and you get that message whereby now the money is huge. So women are fearing so much, and they are running away from getting what? Teens. Right. I don't know how we are going to address that what issue.
Okay. It's not only the women fearing that one, but yes. Are you able to respond?
She talked about withholding tax. Now, if you know, withholding tax of 6% that we charge is a compliance measure, because, like you said, there's too much informality. So the idea is, if you pay, you can claim it, but most people don't know that, because now it increases now the cost of compliance. Now you have to go to URA and get audited and things like that. That's what the withholding tax is for. And if you're compliant, they give it back to you. Actually, they refund it. So it's like a down payment on your income tax of 6%. That's why it was introduced. There might be challenges with implementation, but the policy intention was that. And then also, if you're known to be a compliant taxpayer, you're actually exempted from withholding tax. There are certain processes you'd have to go through within URA.
Yeah, but we are still at the point where we need to get the people registered, then they become compliant before they can get that benefit. When they look at the distance between registering and the benefit, it is so long. It's the incentive to do it.
Yeah, so I was coming to that. I was just explaining the withholding tax specifically. Right. The issue of formalization. She has mentioned it. Every taxpayer mentions it who's informal, and they say the cost of doing it. It's I think one of those things that we're trying to work on. If my colleague from URA was here, because it's really a tax administration issue, would give more information on it. But this is one of the things. How do you incentivize people to formalize? One is to remove all these penalties. It's one of the discussions we're having. Remove the penalties for formalizing. Do not penalize me for the things I've done in the past. Allow me now going forward. I'm now formal. Let's start working together. It's one of the things we're discussing as a policy. Right. To bring people into the net, and you kind of forgive them for the past issues. She talked about road user fees. That would be not really my area. That is Ministry of Works and Transport on these fees. But harmonization, it's not one of the things we're discussing right now. We're discussing excise, VAT, and income tax. Maybe as we continue, these are some of the areas we can look at harmonizing. But I'll just note it here that from my engagement, road user fees is one of the areas we need to harmonize.
I think Mr. Musike can talk about the road user fees.
Thank you. On the road user charges, I think at the ESC level, we have tried to harmonize. I think it's supposed to be like, for example, there's a gross rate, like when you say if you're entering Uganda, maybe from Busia or Mutukula or from where, you pay this much. There is where you say that you are going to pay this amount of money per kilometer. We still have issues, especially between Uganda and Tanzania. I think Ugandan vehicles are paying $50 when they're entering Kenya, Tanzania, and then Rwanda's vehicles pay $50. They negotiated, and we have been putting asking Tanzania.
So just for clarity, this is both entering Tanzania. Ugandan vehicles will pay $250.
Yes.
Vehicles from Rwanda will pay $50, entering the same country.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So, but when they come here, with us, we have a flat rate. Like it's supposed to be like either it's supposed to be for like 45,000. As long as you've entered Uganda, that's the amount you pay. According to kilometers, yes. So we have been pushing Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania about it. And of course, Tanzania had given, we're charging them the same rate. Rwanda was charging them the same rate. You say, we're charging us 250, also pay 250 when you come to our country. There's reciprocated, so the Tanzanians changed it. But with us, we are very good negotiators. We like negotiating things. So we are still working around it. And eventually, I think we shall reach where we shall get it.
All right. I'm going to come down to the floor. Could have discussed a lot more, but would like to hear from questions and comments. And our colleague from URA, if there are issues that you are able to touch on from what has been raised in the panel discussion.
Moderator,
just like before, if you put your hand up, we will avail you with a microphone. And I think the microphone can start over there. Sanitizer is up here as well.
Mr. Moderator.
Those that are joining us virtually, you can also raise your hand if you intend to speak. But if you do not intend to speak and can just write your question, you can write it. I will be able to read it out to all the participants.
My hand is up, moderator. Please consider me.
Thank you very much, moderator. I'd like to make some comments regarding what Madame Babu raised. I would like also to be in line with what my colleague from Ministry of Finance has said, that by and large, those are the fields we also get when we engage the taxpayer. For point of emphasis, I'm Nicholas Musoke, and I work in the research and planning division. So my primary role in URA is to do research on such issues, and that's why I'm an engagement to pick issues which can then go further and do some policy changes and policy proposal to our colleagues in the Ministry of Finance. But to comment on the areas of corruption in the customs area, we have identified that it's a pain, and more so to do with our security partners, the guys in police and the army. And if you very well know that we normally do a lot of transfers, and because they are here by secondment to Uganda Revenue Authority, and I think if around 2 years or 1 year, we take them back and bring other teams. So I think I don't know how far back you've experienced that issue of security, but I can tell you that the current people we have now in URA are like 1 year old or a few months old, because the other old teams were taken back. But nonetheless, there's that challenge of corruption, and we are trying to address it. The issue of capacity of what you said at Sutama when you were stopped at in a taxi, we have observed that our security officers have a capacity gap regarding customs processes, and have come up with a program of sensitizing, of training them of the basic customs processes to help our officers who are in the offices. Another issue is the cost of compliance, which have identified that there is a cross-border area in some area, but the official point is at Busia. It's observed, but we have a challenge of funding. So my colleague Waraka, when it comes to Ministry of Finance to ask for more money, we would like to have as much more border posts as possible, but we can only have what the funds can allow. But we observe that there are so many porous border points on the eastern border, but we are only able to be in particular areas because of the funding challenges, issues of facilitation of our vehicles to man various border points. But again, as we said, I think there's need to do much, which I appreciate. The issue of the social contract, that is something which we shall never really have a conclusion upon. The other issue of teens, of women, teens, business names, and all that, I think now it's an issue of sensitization on the women, and I'd like to implore you maybe to engage our Busia Domestic Tax Office because we have a domestic tax office at the one-stop border post other than the one of customs. Because I know for small traders, they need not file returns because you can get a team with the business registration number, but you can register for presumptive taxes, and presumptive taxes don't require someone to file returns. So you can go for the simplified regime of tax, because I know the other approach of the normal income tax regime is going has those compliance costs of monthly and annual filing of returns. The other element of non-tariff barriers, you've well touched it. Like I said, that now when it comes to issues of tax harmonization and price differentials, we have a problem in the eastern region of borders. If you go to all the border towns in the eastern side, they have in Kenyan number plates, all borders, and the leading cause of that are the price differentials between a cost of border in Kenya vis-a-vis what it is in Uganda. We've tried to do some enforcement, but we can't stop that because there's a 1 million price differential in a price of a border across in Kenya. And rationally, someone who can't buy a border in Uganda where he has to cut an extra 1 million shillings. So we need to tackle the issue of price differentials, which are by and large caused by tax policy differences across countries. I think, but I would like to appreciate Madam Babu for your comments. And I think let's try to keep engaging because the challenge we have, people fear our offices. I don't know, but now you being the leader, you can come and engage our domestic tax teams, and even that gentleman Armstrong in Busia, they are quite receptive.
Right.
They're quite very receptive. They will listen to your issues, and you'll find mechanisms of being addressed. Especially when it comes to issues of sensitization, there is a very serious information gap because we see people smuggling goods which are zero rated, which don't even attract tax, but they are being smuggled, which is an issue of information gap. So I think there's need to engage the customs and domestic tax teams in Busia and other border areas to really sensitize our local communities on how to go by the formal means. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let me take the lady first. I've seen your hand. I was just checking if there's somebody else who hasn't spoken yet that I can. All right, after her, we'll come to Mr. Mazera.
Thank you very much for giving me this chance. I'm Wanga Dina. I'm the chairperson of Malaba Women Cross-Border Traders Cooperative. My concern is on the integration. We are talking of East African community integration. But as a cross-border trader, there is really need for harmonization. Because when we talk of integration, this one now you have come into a common understanding that if there is an issue, it should not really take a long time to be what? Resolved. Here, an example is the Ugandan-Rwandan border. Has it been opened ever since it was closed? Now we are talking of integration, we are talking of harmonization. When do you think we are going to achieve that? If we talk of the EAC, these are 6 partner states, but in actual sense, it's like it is only Uganda and Kenya, which is in the integration. Because if we say Southern Sudan is not yet fully, Tanzania has not yet fully ratified. Then also Rwanda and Uganda have issues at the border. So now, where is the integration? Is it only Uganda and Kenya? Here, when we watch the documentary, as my sister from Busia said about the social responsibility that at least some percentage should be given back to the community. Like when they are calculating the tax, there is 1.5 levy, that is infrastructure. Now, as a local person or a small scale trader, where do I benefit? If even just the roads I'm passing are really very poor, the working environment is poor, then why should I pay the 1.5 levy, infrastructure levy? So those are issues that we should look on.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The two gentlemen on the panel are writing, so you're going to get responses to that. All right, let's have the lady, then we come over here. Flavia, I notice your hand is up. After the two participants, we're going to come to you for your comment.
My name is again Nafula Angela Odong, Women Cross-Border Traders. Just in addition to what my chairperson has said. In fact, in Busia Cross-Border Women, we have tried to do civic education on the effects of illegal trade, that is smuggling. But we can't reach everywhere because of limited resources. In fact, like as she said, here with the sugarcane, we lost a lot of money because of uncoordinated information and laws. There is need for discussion, resolution between legal decision, more timely, effective, and efficient. This saves and put away illegal idea that could deny and make government laws. This one, we are just jumping it. At Busia border, there is a silent enemy called human trafficking. These two make government losses a lot of money, as Busia cross-border women have tried, but we can't do much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Thank you. There was a point I wanted to put forward that Malaba border is a unique border in a way that the two countries are being separated by a river. Busia, we just watched, we were seeing people passing on the roads and it looked normal. But with Malaba, if you're crossing illegally, you have to pass through the river. Look at the risk. People have lost lives. And for us women, really, if we are to do trading, then you go through the river, you have to undress, you're passing through the river sincerely. Even when you come there and you take a documentary, these women lie on jerrycans to float so as to cross to the other side. So if anything is to be done, it should be very, very fast for us to save lives. Let's not only look at revenue. With the Malabar's case, lives are being lost, especially during the rainy seasons. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, moderator. Once again, I'm Henry Bazira and I work with the Water Governance Institute. I think I won't repeat many of the things that have been said, but I just want to put emphasis. This is something I've been trying to do for quite some time. The tax identification number is a very important document or idea or number to have. One of the proposals actually we even had in this alliance is to link our tax identification number with our NIN, to link our tax identification number with our passport number. So to make it easy for record keeping and follow up. But what I have noticed is that, yes, URA has done some education, but much of the education is not sufficient. And I think I will support an idea where URA increases the budget for tax education. So the citizens, even those who are in the informal sector, are educated about the tax identification number and its obligations, because many times you are, even when a taxpayer has defaulted, they will not come to you after you have defaulted on a tin, but we all know that after you've defaulted on a tin, the penalty is about 200,000 Uganda shillings. And that keeps multiplying by the number of months that you miss. Before you know it, 2, 4, 5 years down the road, the thing is running and you have never been informed or alerted that you have a tax obligation to fulfill. Then they wait until the money has reached 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, or 100 million to remind you that actually you had a tax obligation due to non-filing of a TIN or non-filing of returns that happened 2010. And so when you cumulatively calculate over the years, you find yourself in a big problem. So I would encourage that they put more money in it, training citizens about tax identification number and its obligations and compliance is required. The other thing I would like to talk about is the presumptive tax. Personally, I look at it as a lazy man's tax. You are as lazy man tax because you are presuming that I have made money. You are presuming that I'm therefore supposed to be paying a particular tax. A presumptive tax risks overcharging or undercharging a taxpayer. And so for me, the emphasis is still on, can we have many of the members in the informal sector actually formalize and make it attractive to formalize? Our colleague from URS says that we fear going to them. Yes, we fear going to them because the police that they associate with it, all the military, I don't even know what name they call it now, scares us by the manner in which they handle us, making it so difficult for any tax-paying, willing taxpayer to actually come to you for even assistance where you would have assisted them. So I want to conclude by moving a motion or suggesting to move a motion that the documentary and the statements that have been made by Madame here before us give us a real experience of the trader himself and not information from the technocrats who normally sit in boardrooms and think for the Ugandans. So I would suggest that this meeting sitting here, transcribes the information that has come from Madame and the documentary into some kind of memo that we could send to URA and the EAC Secretariat so that we make it as a document from this particular meeting to inform them of what we think our opinions on tax matters. I submit. Thanks.
All right, thank you. We shall have a way forward from Siatini. We'll see if that can be captured. All right, let's go over to Flavia, technical team. Would you give Flavia the ability to speak to us?
Thank you, moderator. Can you hear me?
Yes, Flavia, we can hear you.
Yeah, I actually wanted to comment earlier on the points that the discussions that were raised by the panelists, and I would like to appreciate their submissions. And Chair, I would like to appreciate the knowledge and the capacity that Madame, the chairperson of Women on Cross-Border at Busia has, and really encourage her that she would really be part of the team to do the sensitization and capacity building of members, since she is very knowledgeable on the matters that affect cross-border trade. What I would also want to say is that there are quite a number of measures to promote cross-border trade, particularly, like she put it, the facilitation of a help desk on the border post, but also the issues of the commonly traded goods. I think we do update that every day, not every day, like once a year. And currently we are undertaking we are collecting some of the items that need to be part of the list from the respective partner states. So this is something that we have as key at a regional level, because we know it actually helps cross-border traders or small and medium traders to at least engage in business. And it is a sector that is still green and needs a lot of support. I would actually throw it back to you, much as we are looking at the harmonization of policies, harmonization of revenue, of laws. But what is it that we are doing as taxpayers or as citizens of our East Africans? Aren't we also supposed to at least comply with what we have in place? Because we can't say that all is lost since Kenya, because Kenya has a withholding tax and Uganda, sorry, Kenya doesn't have and Uganda has. Like Anthony put it, I think withholding tax is just an advance payment on your profits if you have to make any. Once you don't, you request for refund. It should not be taken as something, as a burden to you, but rather something that allows you or that prompts you to comply with the tax system. I really want to say that the customs of today or the revenue of today, there is partnership between the taxpayer and the customs administration. It's not policing anymore. You sit on the same table and discuss the issues that need to be addressed. So like the colleague from URA put it, let everything that is not clear to you be addressed to URA or any other tax administration for purposes of dealing with it and clarification. So on the issue of compliance, I would really urge members that we also need to look at ourselves as traders. Are we doing the right thing? Are we supposed to really go across the rivers and risk our lives, as the previous speaker mentioned? Do we really need to run over the jerry cans and for purposes of just evading a tax? Don't you think we also have an obligation to pay that tax if it is really, if it is due? Don't you think we also need to be part of it, to be part of the entire process? That is what I can submit. So with the issue of, I think NTBs, we do have modalities on elimination of NTBs, starting with at least at a technical level and up to policy level. And most of these NTBs majorly are addressed at a certain level. There is a bilateral engagement that is usually faster and quicker, but there's also a regional forum that usually looks at those NTBs and address them. But the problem or the challenge is, how do we report these NTBs? Do we just sit and wait for such forums and then start listing the challenges that we meet, the NTBs that we are having, or do we know the proper forum that we need to report these NTBs? I think that needs to be clear, or even just a one-on-one with the revenue authority, so that, or the ministry in charge, the Ministry of Trade, so that they can carry forward the relevant NTBs that need the attention of whoever it is. The other issue was on load axle harmonization, and I think at regional level, there is an act so far that has been adopted by all partner states. And like we said, the issue of sovereignty comes in terms of implementation. That is where the challenge is. The issue of the $152 between Rwanda and Tanzania, that was a bilateral that was earlier negotiated between the partner states, the two partner states, and we are working towards having either all partner states to apply a uniform rate of 152 or complying with the provisions of the law. So it is, I think, at an advanced stage of conclusion. Perhaps we may get a breakthrough not far from today. And Chair, Moderator, the issue of Rwanda and Uganda, I think that is at the highest level, this meeting or any other office. I'm not sure if there's any who can address that. But we appreciate the concern. Actually, it is at summit level, and I just hope it will be discussed because we have a summit tomorrow. I'm not really sure if it will be, but we look forward because it has really impacted on our trade. It has impacted on the way of living of our people living along the borders. So my plea is to also look at our responsibility as citizens, as traders, on how best we can support the government, much as there is a process in the harmonization of taxes, but what is it that we have to do? Remember, all is not lost. We have at least achieved in one sector of the customs union. There's quite a lot, like the OSPP Madam was talking about. There is the ACT we always talk about. There is the monitoring. Basically, there's a lot that has been done in that particular sector. So we can't say all is gone, all is lost, but we need to know that integration is a process, that sovereignty issues still persist, and we need to understand that we have to always agree because we implement on a consensus basis. So, moderator, those are my comments, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Flavia. All right, a hand has gone up. Yes. Unfortunately, the microphone, okay. Would have allowed you to speak without it, but there are people who will not hear you, the ones joining us virtually. So.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, I'm Annette, working with the traders, but from Yasi, Busia. I've not had any response on the abrupt ban of goods without prior communication. At least I've not had this.
Right.
It has affected traders. Then
what was said here is that the information is given, but I think you said it's given to the officers, your officers at the borders. And actually the question had been, how does this cascade to the traders? But yes, let's make sure we get a response to it.
Yes, then another thing maybe I would recommend, they are only talking of sensitizing traders. Traders should have this information. How about the officials? Like the way Mariam Babu put it, right? She had her goods, she was going, I don't know, to where she was taking it. But when she reached a point where she was told to come out, all her goods were taken out from the car. Right. The car left. She was interrupted with the officer.
Yeah.
So,
the gentleman from URA said that they've discovered that there are knowledge gaps with some of their officers, and they're planning to do trainings.
Actually, the training should be planned because we always go for meetings and they always say it like this. And when we leave the place, it ends there. So at least we need this to be implemented. The moment we get back, at least we shouldn't go under the things we went through. At least when we go for meetings, we communicate them. At least there should be something done. Right. Not every time to continue repeating the same thing every time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your contribution to the discussion. I'd like us to now respond to the questions. I will begin with you, Anthony. We'll come this way. And after you've responded, you give your final word, probably a way forward.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Let me see a couple of things here from. Let me begin with Annette. She talked about the abrupt ban of goods. Could you quickly clarify which goods you're talking about?
Oh, like the sugarcane. Actually, I moved with a trader who was affected with that issue of ban of sugarcanes that were crossing to Kenya.
Oh, thank you. I think if I recall that it came from the highest level here, so probably it's beyond my pay grade, but it's something that that can be discussed, because I remember some people even went to the speaker and tried to resolve issues like that. I can't comment on that. It's beyond me. Capacity training, you mentioned it and he answered. And I know your frustrations where you go to meetings and they say, we're going to train our people, we're going to train our people. And you don't seem to see any change. And maybe that Nicholas should note that, because like he said, it's in the research and planning division. They're supposed to come up with all these measures and plans to respond to issues like that.
Highlight it and put it in bold.
Yes. The gentleman from the Water Governance Institute. Yeah. The issue of tin, it's one of our measures, if you look at the DRMS, to link the tin to all these databases, the national identification number, passport numbers, and have URA databases kind of communicate to all these other government agencies in order to improve compliance and increase formality. That's the thing we're working on. Tax education is insufficient, I agree. I think that's the thing we're working on. It's one of the issues we noted in our DRMS strategy. We need to increase the budget for this. And it's one of the things, because it's a 5-year plan, so it will be taken up at some point. Presumptive tax. Yeah, you're saying that's right, but these people who pay this tax, the turnover is less than 150 million, first of all. And there are challenges of complying, filing returns, and going all through this process. So we created this simplified regime to help you pay. If you say your turnover is between this and this 1.5%, as a way of simplifying, you just keep your books, and because there are certain onerous burdens that come with actually complying the Income Tax Act. So this was created to sort of say, okay, fine, you're saying these are the challenges you're facing. What can we do? And that's why we came up with this presumptive tax. But we note your concerns, and something we can look at. Another lady from Busia was talking about the process of integration. Yeah, this process is very slow and frustrating. That's how it is, because like we said, you're dealing with sovereign countries. If you look at the president signed the ESC treaty, re-establishing the ESC community in 1999. Customs Union comes into play in 2006, 2005-6. That's a 6-year period of negotiations. Let's look at the example of the EU. One member has decided they have had enough of this whole integration process. The British said, no, we're coming out. We're losing our sovereignty. It's really an issue of sovereignty. They say our borders, we have lost control of them. We're losing power to the EU. We want to come out. So integration it's a very frustrating, complicated process, very slow, but we'll keep engaging, because like Flavia said, there are some wins that we have gotten, like the uniform trade policy, customs union, allowing us to trade within ourselves free of duty. So there are some benefits, and we shouldn't give up hope, because we are trying to work now towards a monetary union event to have one single currency. But these processes take time. That's just the nature of how states deal with these things. Rwanda and Uganda, like Flavia said, it's dealt with at the summit level, heads of state. I can't comment on that. I think that's it for me.
Way forward?
Way forward, like you've said, we'll discuss it when we reach that point. Way forward.
All right. That's going to be Siatini, but okay.
Thank you. I think, yeah, the Uganda-Rwanda border have been talked about. It's a political issue. Can't burn our hands there.
Also, you're also saying it's
of course.
up the other side.
When you work with, when you're a government civil servant, there are some things you don't put your hands into, don't comment on. Or it's like when a case is in court, say don't talk about it.
On sub judice, huh?
So that's the same thing. They also already mentioned about Uganda and Kenya looks to be the only people in the integration process. No, it's because that Kenya and Uganda we have been long time trade partners. Long time since I don't know, since Uganda was created, I think since these countries were created. And because we share a lot in common. And I think for the last year, the other year, I think we exported more to Kenya than they always export to us. We had a trade surplus. So that's why we are used okay from day one. Even during the days of when I think the NRM just come to power, we used to get beer from Kenya, and it would be given here at Sheraton Gardens. People would be given crates, you'd come and get allocation from Ministry of Trade. So we are very close partners. That's why we think that's only Kenya and Uganda for integration. Of course, South Sudan had issues like, they are just a baby who is joining integration, and eventually they will be up and running. Yeah, and Tanzania is doing well. We are doing well with Tanzania, apart from a few things here and there. Like they also have claims against us. In any relationship, you cannot always, when a relationship has got no issues, then that relationship is not good also. You must have some issues to raise and put them right.
How come everyone keeps leaving Burundi out?
So I'm wondering. Yeah, I think we don't do, there's no much business we are doing with Burundi. Though when I went there, I found that they used to import most of their goods from Uganda. Paper, most of the things went there for verification sometime. And we are very good. Okay, we tend to try to, but we have very good trade partners with them. They have been importing very many things from Uganda. So those already talked about something remaining at the district, like Malava or Busia, where the money is collected. This is a big issue which may not be able to handle at this level, but through the through the district councils and the parliament, something can be worked out. Because I know the national parks, those who stand near the national parks, there's some percentage of the money which goes to the areas which are bordering the national parks, just to make them appreciate and love those wild animals and do something like that. There's some projects, they give some money, percentage to the areas governing national parks. Like I said, also with oil, there's some money which goes to those people who are in those areas. So that they feel part and parcel. So that Busia does not only see vehicles moving, but that one you have to take it through the legal process. Maybe you talk, the district council passes a motion, then the MPs take it up to parliament, and then perhaps if something can be done, it can be done. Yeah, the issue of sensitization really is important, not only URA, but all the stakeholders, all the government agencies, which are all the border agencies, because you have URA, you have immigration, you have UNBS, you have agriculture, you have health, NDA. Even as Minister of East African Community, we have an officer there. We always try to sensitize. We have been going to these borders. That's how I met Madam Chairperson, and she took us to Sofia, that place where you pass and go to Kenya, out whatever.
So you now know the illegal route.
No, but this one was we are moving together with the Kenyan group and the Kenyan team. We are trying to visit and see exactly what happened. That's Sofia. Sofia is a very famous place in Busia, and very interesting. So, sensitization, I think all the agencies must be given enough money to do sensitization, because URA alone may not be able to handle. They will handle, but all other agencies, some use of finance, you have had. Then the issue of human trafficking is very important and very delicate. And it has happened, by the way, in Busia. We have got people who have been at times stopped on the way, especially young girls being taken to Kenya, and they have been brought back. I think our Minister of State one time also assisted into this when they were taking some girls. I think that's why we are saying that in a way forward, Siatini must come out with these recommendations, and they should be sent to the relevant MDAs. Of course, Miaka being one of them, so that we can take them at a higher level. So the issue of women, trafficking is so delicate and dangerous. The issue of Malava border being on the water is very risky, true. Last time we were there in November, we were sensitizing about COVID. We were told about how some people had died. In fact, they were going to bury somebody who had died while we were trying to cross, and seeing small petty things. somebody lost life. And you remember we had been at, of course, losing life is so bad, but we are being advised, advised and guided by Madame Flavia view of EAC that equally we need to take responsibility for some of the of our obligations. As a citizen, you want roads, you want electricity, you want education, you want this one. What is our contribution? So we must be able to pay tax. Of course, we have issues with paying tax because we have 45 million people, and how many taxpayers we have? Direct one are very few. So equally, when we want services, we should also be able to do something. But of course, the issue of life and this sleeping on a jerry can and to cross over with, I don't know, tomatoes or what, I don't understand. When you compare them, it is more risky to risk crossing with a jerry, on a jerry can with a basket of potatoes to get 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 Uganda shillings and you end up losing life. And like we have said, these guys, some of them don't want to pass through the what? Through the main road, the legalized roads. The other day we were there was a problem. They were complaining that they had closed a small gate in Malaba. So we told we tasked the in charge URA and that committee, the whole of committee which is chaired by the RDC to handle the issue because it doesn't have to come to Kampala. Because they were saying they were consulting with the Minister of Defense, something like that. And I was saying that those people there would be, because we have the border committee, security committee, they could sit and see, because the locals normally use that small gate. I think that's how they call it. I think that's the one which forces even some people to go and do it. So we're telling them to see how to handle it. They say the T number that I've talked about it. The issue of the abrupt ban on the importation of goods. The issue of ban on sugar cane had been communicated, but people were thought it was just. I think the Kenyan farms where these sugar cane were being taken, talked about it, communicated, but we were thinking it was business as usual. But of course, like my colleague said, this thing is being discussed, and it is at the highest level. We are supposed to be having, I think, a bilateral meeting. I was talking with my colleagues in Kenya. They were saying that they are supposed to give us the dates for the bilateral meeting between Uganda and Kenya over a number of issues, including those sugar canes and other things, sugar and milk and what have you. So eventually, still we shall communicate. But this thing is at high level. I think that even reached the heads of state, so we may not be able to. When the formal meeting takes place, we shall communicate and we shall give you we shall request those who are able to attend the meeting to participate. Yeah, so I also want to support the other gentleman when he said that the issue of the recommendations should be taken forward so that we can get issues. The good thing is that Siatini, as always, we have always invited them for our meeting. They even attend the councils. I think it's this COVID thing. Madam Nalunga would now be in Arusha attending or on maybe on a Zoom. I don't know if she will be able to join the summit meeting, which will be taking place as Madame Flavia was saying, which is slated to take place. So, Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Let's just have you. Yeah, let's have you. And could we please have the other microphone back here for Mariam?
I just wanted to comment on the issue of funding to local governments. The government actually provides what we call a local government capitation grant to all districts. So money is there, but we have seen sometimes challenges with implementing all these programs and they return the money to the consolidated fund. So there's that issue. Instead of fixing a road, they fail to do anything and return the money. So maybe holding our district leaders accountable should be one of the other aspects for people who live in those districts, to hold the political leaders accountable.
All right, thank you. Mariam?
Thank you so much. To me, only submit my proposals. First of all,
please go ahead.
First of all, I recommend continuous awareness creation of the traders. As you do awareness creation, at least put a big percentage of women, because since we have multiple responsibilities, we have less access to information. At least if there are chances of training, capacity building, awareness creation, at least put many women so that they can also get information. And for your information, don't target only the border communities when it comes to cross-border trade, because as you have seen every day, new women join the border to earn a living, to put things on their table. So it should be continuous. Those ones you trained yesterday, they are there, but every day, new women join the what? The border to survive. Then I recommend still, we localize the policies, disseminate them before we implement them so that we can effectively abide by them as traders. Then I recommend promoting of inclusivity at all levels of decision making. What do I mean? Include everyone, the stakeholders. Today you have seen people with disabilities, most especially our fellow women with disabilities. They have a source of income of crossing people's goods, but they are left out all the time. Even the one-stop border post, when it was designed, they were not catered for in that. Right now, we want to get them on the board, on the joint border committee and border management committees, but they can't climb up the boardroom and the training room. So let us include those people with the disabilities, because they are also key participants when it comes to border crossing. I'll talk of mindsets. Let us shift. I don't know what you are going to do as citizens, as stakeholders. We should change our mindsets, most especially the government agencies. Because if we don't change our mindsets, we shall not stop smuggling. Because if an enforcement officer feels that extorting money from those ones doing smuggling is a source of what? Earning money, I don't think we can address the issue of smuggling. Then I still recommend the ESC to go ahead and implement or put in practice that Article 121 and 122 for effective participation of women cross-border traders throughout the region. And before I conclude, still, I take this opportunity to thank SIA team for organizing this very important meeting, where we have been able to share issues affecting the traders, most especially the women, the most active participants along the board of Busia. And then I thank still the ESC for putting in place those at least good policies, though they are not fully implemented, but at least as we have had, we have achieved. To me, I have achieved. And my humble appeal goes to the facilitating agencies about women. The way you handle women makes them go through the gazetted route or pushes them to the what? I can give you an experience. Me, during my process of transformation, when the first time I went through the gazetted route, a Kenyan officer, the way he treated me, I was like, I've been harassed in the bush. If I can be respected here, the official told the people on the line, let me serve the mama. Then I came on friend, he served me. That facilitated my what? My transition from the bush to the what? So the way you handle the women, if you handle them in a gentle way, you are bringing them on back. And then you are I just request you to take care of the women. Because if you harass them, if you ignore them, they'll go back to the bush. And by the every day they have to cross. I have to tell you that even during COVID, when the borders were closed, for us, we pushed ourselves to Kenya because we had to put things on the table. We had to put them on the table. We had to take the care of the medication, to pay medication bills. Our men, by the way, they were at home because the local don't put them at home. So the women are very important when it comes to cross-border trade, and they should be given first priority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was for Mariam. Could you please join me in appreciating all the panelists? I think we can now take our seats as we invite Siatini for the way forward and closing remarks, I believe. Thank you very much.
I'd like to, on behalf of Siatini Uganda, extend our very sincere and deep appreciation towards each and everyone who took time off to come and attend this dialogue, both in person, but also the virtual participants who have been online from the start till now. We are very, very, very grateful. I'd also like to extend a sincere appreciation to the panelists from Ministry of East Africa Community Affairs, Ministry of Finance. Unfortunately, URA was not able to make it. And would also like to extend our appreciation to Miss Mariam, all the way from Busia. We thank you very much. And I think we all note that the discussion was very fruitful and very, very informative. Some of the key takeaways or some of the key recommendations that we note or that we have captured throughout the discussion include issues around language within the tax laws, which makes them rather complicated and people cannot understand them. We see issues around non-tariff barriers, also contributing largely to IFFs through smuggling, but also to note that some people might not actually acknowledge smuggling as something rather illegal, but also looking, especially when they look at it in terms of informal trade, given that there are very many people out there conducting small-scale businesses with very little incomes. So some of them think of that as a rather informal means of trade and not smuggling. And we will be we will be collecting all these issues, and we will be compiling them into to develop a petition, but also inform a policy brief that we've been developing around issues to do with tax harmonization, with a specific focus on the Uganda-Kenya border. And we will be sharing this with policymakers, and we will be calling upon different actors, civil society, as well as private sector to engage in the process as we present some of these issues to policymakers. And lastly is that we will continue recognizing the role of different players in the process. That goes to government, civil society, the men, women, people with disabilities, and of course, the constant need for mindset change and for people to continuously appreciate the need to pay their taxes, demand for accountability, but also follow their money. And for us to see that there are policies in place that ensure that everyone is paying their fair share of taxes and at the end of the day, contributing to curbing illicit financial flows. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in appreciating Siatini and all the partners for putting this together. We've come to the end of this discussion today, but surely the discussion does not end here. We have to keep engaging at our various levels. So thank you very much, everyone, for being part of this. We will have lunch, and the Siatini team will guide on the lunch. And also there will be a modest facilitation will also be guided on that. Again, thank you very much.